Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this pumpkin. The materials that you're going to be needing are orange and brown yarn, a hook, a darning needle, and some scissors. For this pattern, I'm using category 4 yarn and a 4mm crochet hook. Okay, and you're also going to be needing some polyfill stuffing or whatever stuffing you prefer for your crochet projects. You can use some yarn scraps that you have or like an old t-shirt that you've cut up, anything to use to stuff in the pumpkin. Anyway, now that that's all out of the way, let's go ahead and begin. Okay, to start off, I'm going to make a magic ring. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my hook. Again, I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. And I'm going to do a chain of 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay? I have my chain of 20, and now we're going to do half double crochet stitches. So skip the last 2 chains that we've made, and into the third one, do your very first half double crochet. And again, a half double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook, grab yarn, pull up. You have 3 loops on your hook, grab yarn, and pull through all 3. And again, we skipped 2 chains and we worked into the third one. And now I'm just going to do a half double crochet in each of the chains until we get to the very end. Feel free to pause the video. I'm here at the end. To finish off, I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to turn my work around, and now we're working into the back loops only. So we're going to do a half double crochet, except only in the back loops. So go ahead and do your back loop half double crochets until you get to the end, and I will meet you when I'm done. I just finished round 2. I'm going to finish off with 2 chains, turn my work around, and again we're working in the back loops only again. So yarn over and do a half double crochet into the back loops only. And that's going to be the repeat pattern until we get to the length of what we need for our pumpkin. So the repeat pattern is going to just be chain 2 at the end of each round, turn your work around, and do back loop half double crochets until you get to the very end, chain 2, turn your work, half double crochets in the back loops only, again and again until you reach your length. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here, and I'll meet you once I have my length, and I'll let you know how many rows that I've done. Okay, I have my length. I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. I've done 21 rows of the half double crochet stitches in total. And now all we're going to do is we are going to finish off with a chain 1, and we're going to cut a long strand of yarn because we're going to use this to sew in the sides. Make sure you chain 1 and then pull through and tighten. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and grab my darning needle, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the end of the yarn that I just snipped. Okay, and now all we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half, and we should have the same number of stitches on both sides. All we're going to do is in the back loop of, so this is the yarn that we've attached. This is the yarn that's attached to our needle. For this one, we're going to insert our needle to the back loop, and for this one, we're going to insert it into the loop that is facing the front. So, back loop of this row and the front loop of this row. We're just going to pull that yarn through. Same thing for the other one. Front row and the back loop. Okay? And again, back loop, front loop, push through. So we're basically just doing the innermost loops that we are sewing back and forth into. Go ahead and do that until you get to the very end. And I'm here at the end. I have one more stitch to go through on both sides. I'm going to pull it through, but not all the way, leaving a little loop here. I'm going to insert my needle into it and basically knot it off. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. And then all I'm going to do is fasten my yarn through a couple of stitches to make sure that my work doesn't come undone. Then once that's done, I'm just going to snip off the excess yarn, making sure not to cut our actual work. And there we have our sides sewn in. And now we're going to go ahead and grab our brown yarn and we're going to make a slip knot. And we're going to attach it to our pumpkin. So this is where we've just sewn it. We've just sewn both ends. And now what we're going to do is near this area, we're just going to insert our hook through the top, grab our brown yarn, pull through, and chain 1 to attach our brown yarn. And now all we're going to do is we are going to single crochet along the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to single crochet along the tops as well as you can. There aren't any defined stitches, so it really is just eyeballing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my round of single crochet stitches, and I will go ahead and meet you when I'm done. Okay, I'm here at the end. I have about 26 stitches, but if you have a different number, that's totally fine. Like I said, we don't really have defined stitches at the top. We just need to single crochet all the way around. Okay, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the very first stitch I did with my brown yarn, and then I'm going to chain 1 to finish this round off. Okay, for the second round with our brown yarn, we're just going to do a row of decreases. So to do a decrease, I'm just going to insert my hook into the very first stitch, grab yarn, pull up, insert my hook into the next stitch, grab yarn, pull up. That yarn that I just grabbed up, I'm going to pull it through the other two. Okay, so we're just going to do a round of decrease stitches. And if you have one stitch left over, because like I said, we don't really have a set amount of single crochet stitches, everybody will probably have a different number. In the last stitch, you can just do one regular single crochet stitch. It's okay if you don't end up on a decrease, but I'm just going to decrease all the way around until I get to the very end. I just finished my round of decrease stitches, and it might be a little difficult to see. For me, because I started in the same place where I did my sewing, I have this little strand of yarn that's still picking out, so I know that I have ended around the same area. So I just did my last decrease, but again, if you only have one stitch at the end, you can just do one single crochet in that last stitch, okay? So now I'm going to finish off with a slip stitch and chain 1, okay? And now we're going to do another round of decrease stitches. So we're just going to decrease all the way around until you get to the very end. Feel free to pause the video and I will meet you when I'm done. I'm here at the end, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the very first stitch that I've made, and I'm going to chain 1. Okay, if your hole is still pretty big, then you can probably do one more row of decreases, but if you have around 7 stitches, then you don't need to do another round of decreases, because now we're going to do the little stem portion. But if you have like 20 stitches still, then feel free to do another round of decreases until your hole is pretty small. Okay, like I said, I have a total of 7 stitches after my second round of decreases, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go around with a single crochet stitch all the way around. So no decreasing or increasing, I'm just going to single crochet all the way around. And then once you've single crocheted around, go ahead and slip stitch and chain 1. And now I'm going to do just 2 more rows of single crochet stitches. Okay, you can make your stem as tall as you want, so it's completely up to you, but I'm going to do about 2 more rows of single crochet stitches. And once you have the length of your stem, as always, I'm just going to slip stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to cut a long strand of yarn because I am going to use this to sew the top of the stem. Okay? I've just attached my needle to my stem, and all I'm going to do is through the loops that are on the inside of our stitches. So each stitch has a little V, right? Each stitch, if you look at it, it looks like the letter V. All we're going to do is we are going to weave in our needle back and forth through the inner loops only. So instead of going through the entire V, which is both the front loop and the back loop, we're only going to go through the inner loop. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and weave in my yarn back and forth, kind of like a drawstring, through my stem, and then when I feel like it is weaved in enough, I'm just going to pull on it and it should tighten, and then I'm just going to go through a couple stitches nearby and make sure that my yarn is knotted properly. Then I'm just going to bring my yarn through the stem and I'm just going to pull it through the inside of our pumpkin. Okay? And that way we don't have to worry about weaving in the ends. They're just going to sit in there. Okay? Now let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so I've just snipped off some yarn that I'm going to use to sew the bottom of our pumpkin. I'm not going to stuff it in just yet. I'm going to stuff it in once I have this part woven, just because I feel like it's a lot easier to work with. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the yarn that I just cut for myself and attach it to my needle. Okay? And then on the other end of the yarn, I'm going to make a slip knot. So this is all one yarn. One side my needle is attached, the other side is a slip knot. The side where the needle is attached, I'm going to pull it through one of my stitches. Okay? I'm going to push it through the area where we sewed in both ends together. And again, it's marked by this loose strand of yarn that we have that I have yet to weave in. We'll weave it in at the end. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my yarn through one of the stitches nearby. And once the slip knot comes to the area, I'm just going to bring my hook, or excuse me, my needle through that slip knot, and I'm going to pull it until the knot tightens, and now you have your yarn attached to your pumpkin. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to weave in my needle back and forth. Again, think of a drawstring bag. We're just going to weave in our needle back and forth. Okay? It doesn't have to be very even because the yarn I'm using is the same colored yarn as my pumpkin. So I'm just going to weave it in back and forth until I get to the very end. I'm not going to pull it shut just yet. I'm going to do that after I stuff it. So I weaved it in back and forth. I'm at the beginning where I started sewing it in, and I'm not yet going to pull it shut because we still have to stuff it. So I have some polyfill stuffing that I'm just going to stuff into my pumpkin. Okay, I just stuffed my pumpkin, and now all we have to do is pull on the yarn that we used to sew in, pull it shut, and it should close the bottom of our pumpkin. And all we have to do now is we're just going to pull it tight, and then we are going to knot it closed. Okay? And there's still a little hole left, so all we're going to do is we are going to go back and forth through the stitches until it is closed shut. and I'm holding the 2 strands of yarn that we have yet to tuck in with my thumb so they don't get in the way like they just did. And I'm just going to go back and forth. Then I'm just going to pull that too. And as always, I'm just going to go through a couple of stitches nearby, pull this through, and then knot it off, and then take my needle and bring it in through our pumpkin a handful of times so the yarn is properly tucked away. And I'm going to snip that off. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other 2 strands of yarn that we have loosely hanging around. Just going to attach my darning needle, bring it through the pumpkin. Same thing with the other one. Attach my darning needle, and again, push it through the pumpkin. Snip off the excess yarn, making sure not to cut off your actual work. And then you can just play with it a little so the stuffing is evenly spread out. And there you have your little pumpkin. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for anything you'd like to see in the future, please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to make the video as soon as I can. Also, if you have any suggestions on different methods in which you feel you prefer learning on how to crochet, let me know those as well, because I do take comments like that seriously, and I want my videos to be something that everybody can learn from and understand. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!